G'day and welcome to Hooky Friends, a bonus episode of Hooked on Sport where Ben chats with members of the South Australian sporting community. Today, Ben's guest is Bevan Jones, host of the long-standing podcast Legends with Bevo. Ben and Bevo share some funny stories and Bevo gives us his favourite sporting interviews of all time.
Bevan Jones, welcome to Hooked on Sport.
Hooky, great to be with you, mate. What an absolute pleasure to be on your incredible podcast.
Talk about pleasures. What a pleasure it was, you and I, to be part of the Adelaide Softball Association season opener when they got a bunch of duds featuring you and me to play in the celebrity match. What a ball it was.
I still can't believe that, Hooky. You're definitely more of a celebrity than me, that's for sure. Having played cricket at a high level, but, mate, it was so much fun, wasn't it?
It was. I had a great time. I did a hamstring on the way through, but it had just a really lovely spirit, didn't it?
It really did. And I don't know about you, but I found the ball really hard to hit as well. It was that sort of different version of playing softball for those people that are listening at home. It was the slow pitch softball version rather than your hardball version that you see with professional softball, which made it a little bit hard to hit at times. But so much fun, and all the celebrities are just such great sports. And obviously, as you mentioned, it was a really good event. Well done to all those involved that put it together. And what a pleasure it was as well to get that amazing gift basket at the end, Hooky, with those couple of bottles of wine. Couldn't believe it.
My bottle of wine didn't see the night, to be fair. I got home, my wife and a couple of people over, and I pulled, wouldn't you believe it? I've got a lovely bottle of Pinot Noir, courtesy of the Adelaide Softball Association. You said you found the ball hard to hit. Yeah, not me, mate. Yeah. Just the only person to score a home run for the match. That was me. I think whenever they come up with a Norm Smith medal for the celebrity softball match, I'm pretty sure it'll have my name engraved on the back. Hey, let's talk about your podcast, Legends with Bevo. It's been an incredible body of work. You've done an amazing amount of podcasting. You were podcasting before podcasting actually became cool. In fact, you probably made it cool, Bevo. We're going to talk about your best five. But before we get to your best five, you've done an episode, one of the all-time greats of Australian surf life-saving sports, Trevor Hendy, that's about to go to air. Tell us about that chat.
Yeah, Hooky, I was an absolute kid in a candy shop, mate. Like yourself and probably many others, I was a huge fan of the Uncle Toby Super Series back in the day. And a couple of years ago, I was lucky enough to do Guy Leach. And it's really funny. Back in the day, me and my brother, probably like other kids as well, were in the backyard and doing our own Uncle Toby Super Series. And I'd be Team Leach and my brother would be Team Hendy. And it's quite funny, actually, because I did an interview recently with Jason Richardson and that came up in conversation somehow. And we popped up on Instagram and Trevor Hendy actually commented on it, like, what a legend, and goes, Team Hendy all the way. So I thought I'm just going to reach out to him on Insta, and he's such a good guy. He was more than happy to have a chat, and we had a bit of banter last night about it. And he goes, "I'm still darking you for being Team Leach." And I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that, mate. I still love you though."
I was Dwayne Ties because he was the South Australian who sort of did incredibly well at running against the grain. There's a cracking story, and I'll tell it one day. He got mixed up in a beer drinking competition with Bob Hawke in Bali. Now, that is a story for another day, but it is an absolute cracker. Bob Hawke, Prime Minister of Australia, he essentially brought warring factions of world surf lifesaving together and did it over a number of beers in Bali. And it was very entertaining. And I will get the details of that story and share it one day. That is well worth telling. Hey, let's get into it, mate. Your best five, and I want to give people a bit of an opportunity maybe to go back through your back catalogue and listen to some of the amazing chats you've had. This is in no particular order, but where do you start?
Yeah, Hooky, this is so hard to do because, like you mentioned, I've been so fortunate to have so many incredible guests. And for someone who hasn't got a profile at all, like I've never worked in, Triple M or commercial radio or commercial television and never played sport at a high level like you have. I've just been so lucky to speak to so many incredible guests. And obviously I thank so many of them for giving up their time. And it's made me realise just so many wonderful people out there and they just love talking about their careers and giving up their time, which in a number of cases, they're very, very busy people. So, couldn't speak highly enough of all the guests I've had on, and to do a top five was extremely hard. So hopefully I haven't offended anyone, but in no particular order, the very first one I have to say is Phyl Smyth.
I'm saying you're done. You are done. You are done at our footy club. Our footy club doesn't stand for that. Our footy club won't have that. It is an unforgivable mistake. You're done at our footy club.
Phil's become a good mate of mine through some stuff I've done with producing and commercial and community radio in the past, and a 4-time Olympian, absolute legend of a bloke. I'm sure you've met him before, Hooky, as well. He's just such a down-to-earth guy, and what an amazing story. 4-time Olympian, 3-time championship player with the Adelaide 36ers and championship coach, of course, as well. And now he's doing some really good things with the Brisbane Lions up there. And Chris Fagan's obviously really thankful for all the help that he's been giving him, no doubt. So, Phyl Smyth, absolute legend for sure. And was lucky enough to chat to him on a few occasions. And he's actually the reason that the Legends of Bevo journey all started, Hooky. It was actually his idea. And long story short, how it came about, we just caught up on a Friday arvo, and I just finished up a stint working in regional SA in the Riverland on commercial radio up there as a breakfast announcer. And I was like, what are we going to do next? And Smythy's like, mate, everyone loves their footy tipping. Why don't we just catch up and do a bit of a chat, chuck up on social media and give our footy tips and have a bit of banter at the same time? And literally it started from there. And that particular year, 2018, I'd get different people on every week to give their footy tips because Smythy wasn't available every week, and just have a bit of a chat with them, talk about their careers. And at the end of that footy season, I was just enjoying it so much that I just wanted to keep it going. And now, some 250 episodes later, with a few different changes along the way, I've been able to chat to so many incredible people, not just in Australia, around the world now, with the obviously the Teams and Zoom options you have these days. So it's been incredible. But Smythy, like I said before, just an amazing record as a basketball player, and now obviously involved as coaching mentor with the Brisbane Lions, and his coaching career with the Adelaide 36ers is unbelievable as well. So, Phyl Smyth, definitely, absolutely in the top 5 there.
Tell you my best story about Phyl Smyth. When I was working at Channel 7 and the Adelaide 36ers were under all sorts of pressure, they were underperforming. Phyl Smyth was coach at the time. He had obviously had success, but it seemed like the end was getting close, and the media had all congregated really on the basis of the fact that we felt like this was a dead man walking. And I walked into the powerhouse thinking, this is just going to be the most awful experience interviewing Phyl. He's not going to want to do it. He'll be really unpleasant. It will be just a nasty interview. Anyway, media all gathered. I don't think there was a set press conference, but just the rumours were out that he was done. And he came bowling up, happy, smile on his face, happy to chat, friendly as ever, gave the most engaging, effusive, positive interview. And I just thought, the mark of this man, that is quite incredible for someone who was being absolutely pilloried left, right and centre in mainstream media to come bowling up to all of us and just chat like he was a good mate was something really special. So, any time you have a conversation with Phyl Smyth, who has been, underground, incredible with the things he's done in sport, worked with Mark Williams, worked with Chris Fagan, as you said, he is a star. Episode 110 in the Legends of Bevo catalogue, so that's one to catch up. Where do you want to go from Phyl Smyth, my man?
Yeah, a bit of a younger one, and another one who's doing really good things with the Olympic circuit, and the son of Brett Chalmers, of course, and that's the one and only Kyle Chalmers.
Last year I had close to 500 critters in my reptile room, so I had a pretty good breeding season. Bred close to 300 bearded dragons, 75 frillneck lizards. I bred pythons. I bred just things that are easy to manage for my mum when I'm away. So mum and my brother have to take the load when I'm overseas, and at the moment everything's in hibernations.
3 Olympics, 3 medals, all in the same event. I mean, gee, it's not far from Dawn Fraser, is it? Who won 3 in a row, 56, 60, 64, the 100-metre women's freestyle. Only male or female to do that in a pool in any event. And Kyle Chalmers was just a couple of touches from the same thing.
Yeah, just as a teenager, winning the 100 metres freestyle, what a story that was, the Emmanuel boy. And I still remember watching it on TV and watching the news that night and seeing all the Emmanuel students cheering him on. And I thought, wow, this is just absolutely awesome. This is what sport and what the Olympics is all about, Hooky. And he's had to overcome some huge challenges along the way with injury and mental health issues and other bits and pieces. And to think that he got a silver medal at Paris recently, was so close to getting gold again. And obviously won gold in the relays as well. He's just such an amazing athlete, and continues to keep on going. There's been talk of him retiring, but thankfully he's going to keep on going to hopefully potentially Brisbane 2032 if his body is okay by that stage. And I remember chatting to him I think last year with his old coach Shelley. And Shelley Jarrett, her name is, and we were actually just having a bit of a yarn, and he was saying how he's going out and doing a bit of tradie work, and he's just such a down-to-earth lad, and post his career he wants to go back to Port Lincoln and work as a tradie. And I'm like, that's just so great to hear. He's just an awesome bloke, awesome fella, and a bit like Smythe, just happy to give his time of day to anyone, and so not arrogant. A lot of people. And you've seen it, Hooky, when they get to that high level, they can become a bit sort of full of themselves and not give their time of day to other people, but he's definitely not one of those. And another one who I've been lucky enough to chat to on a couple of occasions.
Return to Tokyo, your sub-series of Legends with Bevo. I reckon that's episode 10, Kyle Chalmers. My very quick story about Kyle Chalmers. Tom Jonas, the captain of Port Adelaide.
The road to Tokyo. The road to Tokyo, I should say.
What did I call it?
The road... The return to Tokyo. You're close.
Yeah. We did go to Tokyo in was it 1964, I think was the previous Olympics in Tokyo. Apologies for that. The road to Tokyo, episode 10. Cole Chalmers actually was a guest of Royal Adelaide Golf Club ahead of the pennant season. I interviewed him. It was Tom Jonas, the captain of Port Adelaide, who organised it. Absolutely spellbound. I sort of put some questions to him that I tried to relate what he would deal with in and around the pool to in and around what an individual athlete does in golf. He was unbelievable with his insight into what athletes go through, what they should try and avoid, what they should focus on. It was just a wonderful chat. The other thing I'll say, 2016, the Channel 7 call was from Basil Zemplis. I don't think it was particularly good, but Gerard Whateley called it for the ABC, called that race, and you can actually still find it. And I just recommend anyone go Gerard Whateley, Kyle Chalmers SoundCloud, and you will pick up the audio of Gerard's 2016 call of Kyle Chalmers' win in Rio. It is an unbelievable call. It is spine-tingling. I get tears in my eyes every time I listen to it. So that is one to follow up on after you have listened to Road to Tokyo, episode 10 with Kyle Chalmers. You've got a couple from your Road to Tokyo series. Who else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, thanks, man. Another one who is just an incredible athlete and an amazing story as well. And I know I keep on saying this, Hooky, but all the people I'm mentioning today are just the nicest people, and there's obviously a lot of them out there, and you've spoken to many over the years, with the wonderful things that you've done with the Sunday Mail in your segment there that you had successfully for so long. And Jess Stenson is another one of those.
And that really just fired me up, and I thought I'm on pace to make the Olympic team. And even though my legs were almost, giving way on me, I remember my hamstrings twinging and all sorts going on. I just had that Olympic goal at the front of my mind.
I'm sure you've met Jess on many occasions, but what a story it was to win gold at Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games. After coming back from having a bubs as well, like a lot of people have babies and then, retire and don't compete again. But she's almost got better since she had that bubs and obviously had another one now since then. So, yeah, what an incredible story Jess is, and just such a lovely person as well. Once again, just gives her time of day to anyone. Real country girl, grew up in Narracourt, I believe. And, just one of SA's greatest stories from a female athletics point of view.
Road to Tokyo, episode 7 on the Legends with Bevo podcast. Jess Stenson grew up with Abby Trengove and Jack Trengove, her brother. My favourite story about the three of them, don't know if it came up in your podcast, mate, but this is one chat that I've had with both Jack and Jess, is they knew that they were coming up to sports day, the school sports day, and they were across the running, obviously, and a few other events, but they weren't much chop at the throwing. And so country kids down at Narracourt, they found this rock that looked a bit like a discus, and they put some tape around it and turned it into their own homemade discus and spent all day teaching each other how to throw it. And, of course, went to sports day a couple of days later and all won the discus throw. So that's just the enterprise of that family. They are an incredible family. And Jess Stenson, well, what she has done in marathon running in the later stages of her professional career, quite incredible. She ran a PB in the half marathon in Melbourne last weekend. So she is still doing incredible things. And who knows, she could easily get to LA 2028. I mean, marathon runners do tend to blossom late. So that would be an amazing story, isn't it? Where do you want to go next, mate?
Yeah, so go back to my beloved Port Power now, and 2004, still the obviously only premiership in the AFL. Hopefully there'll be another one the next couple of years. Who knows, though, Hooky. But, Warren Tredrea.
So not only was it for us under a new jumper, same club under a new jumper with teal on it, it was a connection to the past where all these people that had done all the hard lifting got rewarded for what we're able to do.
Warren Tredders, as he's well known these days, premiership skipper filling in for Matty Primus, and what a skipper he was, and led from the front, and took them to their first ever premiership, as I mentioned, in 2004 against that such strong Brisbane Lions team who were going for 4 in a row. And what an amazing day it was for Port Adelaide fans, and I certainly remember it as well, Hooky. Multiple All-Australian, one of the best centre-half forwards we've ever seen, and tough position to play as well. I mean, I played it, not at that level, but at local level, and it's hard to play, especially when the ball goes over your head all the time. You get punched in the back of the head and what have you. And some of the centre half backs that he would have been up against, like Glenn Jakovic's and these sort of guys, are just so tough. But he continuously do amazing things for Port Adelaide, and cops a bit of criticism unfairly, I felt at some stages, for his kicking, but I think by the end of his career, he'd certainly fix that up. And how can you forget that game he played against Carlton as a young lad, when I think he did a knee the same day, but he kicked 8 or 9 goals, and he really showed the footy world how much of a player that he was, and obviously won a premiership as well with his beloved Magpies. And yeah, really lucky to chat with him on the podcast, and I think it went for almost an hour, Hooky. Most of them only go for about half an hour. So yeah, we spoke for ages, and again, I was just greatly appreciative of someone who's so busy but just so happy to give up his time, and just talking about the prison bars and how much that means to him, and that whole Port Adelaide mentality, having his dad as the coach, Gary Tredrea, and then obviously, as I mentioned before, premiership skipper himself in 2004, and had such a stellar career, obviously, as a young lad with the Magpies, and then going on to play with the Power. Like I said, one of the toughest positions that you could play at centre half forward.
Walking the tightrope at the moment, isn't he, with his dual roles, 5AA as special comments and opinion maker on the sports show in the afternoons, and then, of course, also a board member at the football club. I've got to say, and I do feel like he's had to sort of just dull down a little bit about his opinion, but I reckon on his day, as sharper insight into football as anyone. And I think he also has a really innate understanding of what supporters are feeling. I don't know if that's... Don't know if it's the ideal for him to be able to do 2 roles, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you've got to earn a living, but at the same time, he just loves that football club and he wants the best for it. So...
it's a really good point, mate. He has come into a bit of criticism, and from other media personalities about sort of sitting on the fence a little bit as a 5AA analyst, like you mentioned, and special comments person, and not going hard enough on Port because of his role on the board. But so I hope he can do both, because I think he provides such good value to not only the footy club but 5AA, as you mentioned, Hooky. So it'd be a shame to see him lose one or either of those 2 things. But we'll see what happens in 2025, and he's obviously enjoying himself travelling around Australia in a caravan at the moment with his family. So good luck to him.
Absolutely good luck to him. So you've got another sub. So just give me the number. How many episodes do you reckon you have recorded all up? I'll put it this way. I'm at number 8 this time around.
I think it's something like 250, Hooky.
Oh, so, that is unbelievable, mate.
Oh, I don't know how I've managed to do it as well. I must have an understanding wife.
yeah, no doubt. And you're obviously very good with people, because they continue to happily front up for your show. You've got a sport and comedy section of Legends with Bevo that comes out more recently, and your Warren Tredrea chat, you just said around about an hour's worth, is episode 19, but that is well worth a listen as well. Send us home with one more, maybe another Olympian.
Yeah, we'll finish off with another SA legend who, funny enough, was actually part of our celebrity game with the softball last week, played in your team, the one and only Rachael Sporn, 3-time Olympian and 5-time WNBL championship winner.
She did hit, just to jump in, mate, she did play in that softball match. She did hit a couple into the outfield. No home runs, though, unfortunately, for Rachael Sporn. I can give you the full list. I've got a list, a list of the people who hit a home run during that match. The full list of 1.
I love it. Your cricket skills came in handy, Hooky.
I got very lucky. I was actually trying to hit everything to the leg side, and then I thought, I'll hit it to the offside here, and I think I might have picked the right fielder who missed it, and I managed to scamper around all those bases despite straining a hamstring on the way.
Hopefully they change the teams up next year, because I think it was a bit one-sided. I think we had too many media personalities on our team, and you guys had all the Olympians. So I think hopefully I'm on your team next year, Hooky.
I had my tongue in my cheek because Bill White, the legend of Australian softball, was coaching your team as such. And I did sort of tongue in cheek just suggest to her that maybe her coaching was the problem. And I don't think she took that all that well. I didn't quite see the humour that I was trying to work with. So, Bill, if you're listening, I apologise. Now, let's straighten this up. Let's get on to Rachael Sporn.
Yeah, the Olympic Village was amazing. The dining hall, is the size of 2 football ovals and has to feed 16,000 people, and it's open 24/7. What was crazy in Atlanta was there was 9 McDonald's restaurants in the village, all free, which was just nuts, and only in America that they would do that.
Rachel, as I mentioned before, a 3-time Olympian, one of our greatest ever basketballers, 5-time WNBL championship winner. Again, just a lovely lady, and now involved with the Port Adelaide Footy Club as well, doing great things down there with women's program.
Her first Olympics was Atlanta 1996, and they built an athletes' village, but they couldn't fit every athlete in it. And the Australian team got sent to the Georgia Tech college accommodation. They stayed on the 4th floor with no lift, so they would have to every day go back from playing Olympic basketball and have to climb 4 floors of stairs. They had bunk beds, they had communal showers, so no bathrooms in their rooms. Can you imagine expecting Olympic athletes to perform under those sort of circumstances in the modern day? I think it's pretty incredible what the Australian basketballers were asked to do back then, or the whole Australian Olympic team.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah, they've got it pretty good these days, that's for sure. I do love the stories though, Hooky, and especially the village ones of hearing stories about water pistol fights and or like I said, all the fast food outlets they had, and all the go-to meals that athletes have as well back in the day after they'd finished their competition. It's just awesome to hear some of those stories.
Yeah. So 3 Olympic Games, 2 silver medals, which was Sydney and Athens 2004. Athens. Unbelievable game. She said all the venues were great, but everything was sort of unfinished. Once you got outside the venues, it was a bit of a disaster. They led the US at 3/4 time in the gold medal match and blew the final quarter. She was 36 at this point. It was a mum. She said she'd never been fitter, and she, to this day, says that is the one that got away. That 3rd Games at Athens, where they had the US covered at 3/4 time.
Phenomenal, isn't it? And as we've seen in recent years, they're just almost impossible to beat as well, both in the women's and the men's. So, yeah, that would have been a remarkable upset, wouldn't it?
Bevo, where do we find your best work, my man?
Thanks, Hooky. This has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, mates, and I'll certainly have to return the favour and get you on Legends of Bevo at some stage. But just on Spotify, mate, you can get it on there. Just look up Legends of Bevo, and you can get the original Legends of Bevo series, the Road to Tokyo, which was a 12-part series with past and present Olympians talking about their journeys, as we just mentioned before, and then in most recent times, the sport and comedy Legends with Bevo. So it's all under Legends of Bevo on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can get it on YouTube as well, the video versions, on Facebook, Instagram, you name it, wherever you get your podcasts these days, Hooky.
Fascinating chat, mate. Thanks so much for your time. If you want to go for something a little bit deeper than my little 15, 20-minute hitters with my usual episode is with Wallace Long and myself. If you're looking for something a bit more in-depth, Legend with Bevo is a good one to subscribe and start listening into. Bevan, thanks so much for your time on Hooked on Sport.
Hooky, an absolute pleasure anytime, mate. Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Trust you've enjoyed this episode of Hooky and Friends. Links to the Legends with Bevo episodes mentioned can be found in the show notes. Ben will be back next week with his regular weekly look at SA Sport.
Basil Zemplis. The Channel 7 call was from Basil Zemplis. I don't think it was particularly good, but